It was one of those quiet, chilly afternoons in a small American town where everything seemed to move slower. Outside, the sound of distant engines echoed between brick walls and faded shop signs. Inside a cozy roadside diner, the smell of coffee, bacon, and old jukebox music filled the air. Sunlight poured through the big front windows, painting the turquoise walls and red booths in a nostalgic glow. People chatted softly, spoons clinking against coffee cups, laughter drifting between tables until something happened that silenced the entire room. At his usual corner booth sat Reed Dawson, a man locals called Red Dog, a weathered biker with arms covered in faded tattoos, a gold cross hanging over a worn denim vest, and hands that told stories of long rides and harder times. His rough exterior hid a tired soul, a man who had seen too much, lost too much, and stopped expecting kindness from the world. He stirred his coffee absently, staring out the window, unaware that his past and his redemption were about to walk through the diner door. That's when she entered. A young woman, no older than her late 20s, stumbled inside. Her gray sweater hung loosely over her thin frame, her jeans torn at the knees, her shoes mismatched. In her arms, she held a small girl, barely 3 years old, whose tangled hair and pale cheeks told a silent story of cold nights and empty stomachs. The mother's eyes darted around the room, not searching for a seat or a menu, but for mercy. The waitress behind the counter froze for a moment, unsure. A few customers glanced her way, then turned back to their meals. Only Reed kept watching. He saw the way she whispered to her little girl, trying to soothe her hunger. Then, with trembling steps, she approached his table, and to everyone's shock, dropped to her knees beside it. Her voice broke as she looked at his half-eaten steak and fries. "Can I take the leftovers for my daughter?" she whispered. Every sound in the diner vanished. The music faded into silence. Even the hum of the jukebox seemed to hold its breath. Reed looked down at her, words caught in his throat. The child clung to her mother's sweater, hiding her face. The woman's eyes shimmered with tears, not just of hunger, but of shame. He stared at his plate, then back at her. Something deep inside him, something buried under years of guilt, stirred. He remembered another little girl, his little girl. A daughter he hadn't seen in years, a family he'd lost to the life he chose. And for the first time in a long time, he felt that ache return. Without a word, Reed stood up. The woman flinched, thinking she'd angered him. Instead, he quietly slid his plate toward her and walked to the counter. Murmurs rippled through the diner as he whispered something to the cook. Moments later, he came back holding 2 takeout boxes and a bottle of milk. He knelt down beside her, this rugged, tattooed biker on one knee before a hungry mother and child, and said softly, "This isn't leftovers. It's fresh, and there's enough for tomorrow, too." He handed her the boxes, then pulled a folded bill from his vest pocket and placed it gently in her hand, enough to keep them fed for a week. The woman's lips trembled. Why would you help me?" she asked, her voice shaking. Reed's eyes softened as he looked at the little girl. "Because once," he said quietly, "I couldn't help mine." No one moved. The diner was silent, except for the faint sound of a woman sobbing softly, holding her daughter close, whispering thank yous through tears. The waitress came over with a small cup of cocoa, setting it in front of the child with a shaky smile. Even the other bikers sitting across the room looked away, their eyes glistening. Reed sat back down, exhaling deeply. His heart felt heavy, but lighter than it had been in years. He watched the woman leave, her daughter in her arms, and for the first time in a long time, he smiled. Not the tough smirk he was known for, but a quiet, peaceful smile of a man who had just rediscovered something he thought was gone forever. That night, as he rode home under the fading light, the cold air hit his face, but inside, something warm stirred. Maybe forgiveness, maybe hope. He didn't know where his daughter was, but as the wind carried away years of regret, he prayed that someone, somewhere, would show her the same kindness he had just shown that stranger. And that night, everyone in that diner went home remembering one simple truth. Sometimes, the smallest act of compassion can echo louder than a lifetime of words. If this story touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe to HOA Chronicles, because sometimes One meal, one choice, and one moment of kindness can change everything.